Assalamu alaikum. How's everyone doing? Can you hear me okay? I usually speak loud. This microphone is making it even worse. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thank you so much for coming and for hosting me. And I really appreciated his comment about short speech, so I'm going to try to keep it short. Last week there was an occasion in the United States. What was it? Last Thursday it was what? It was Thanksgiving, right? So a lot of people were giving thanks. And then Friday, what happened? Black Friday. So what did people go doing? Shopping? Yeah, so we are a really funny country in the sense that we are all thankful on one day, and then we are really not thankful the next day that we have to go shop and have more of the things that to be thankful about, right? Yesterday, actually, I was hosting a national conference, and one of the parts about it was about physician burnout. And for people who are physicians or dentists or even professionals, you may realize that the rate of physician burnout in this country is about 50%, and according to the last estimate, is about 76%. These are people who are saving people's lives. Yet physicians have in this country the highest rate of suicide of any profession. So it's bad news for you medical students? Hopefully not. It is still an incredibly fulfilling career. But the real question that I actually wanted to delve into is, we are at a time in the United States where there is so much prosperity, and we have a generation that is so physically comfortable. I mean, how many people ate breakfast today? Most of us. How many people ate lunch today? So, do you know where your breakfast came from? Animal, plant, whatever. Yes, but it came from somewhere, right? But I can guarantee it that the breakfast you had probably had sources from different countries, not just neighboring towns. And so is your lunch, and so likely will be your dinner. And the Sultan, in the best days of the Sultan, could not dream of the meals that we have on a daily basis. The Sultan in the palace of the Sultan could not control the temperature in his palace the way we actually are sitting here comfortably. The Sultan in the days of the best of the Sultan would ride in a carriage rather than in a car that is very comfortable, that blocks all the noises and everything like that, right? So we actually, today, each one of us, middle class or even below middle class in America, we live better than the wealthiest of humanity lived about a century ago. Physically speaking, right? So the physical comforts are very abundant. But when you look actually, the difference between the baby boomers, Generation X, Generation Y, millennials, there's an interesting trend that you see, which is as the comfort of the body increases, the rates of depression are also increasing. So amongst the baby boomers, it's about 16%, and I'll quote you the statistics actually. So amongst the baby boomers, it's 16%. Among Generation X, it's 17%. And among millennials, which many people in this room are, it's 20%. So on a table of 5, that means probably 1. And that's depression. We're not talking about people being sad. So why is it that we are so comfortable and we can afford things that no one could ever dream of, yet we are unhappy and unsatisfied, and our sense of well-being is not existent? Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought about on your worst day, your worst problems could be somebody else's dreams? So here's the question that I actually have for you, and I don't know if you know the statistics. People who attended my halaqah may know, so hold your thoughts until the end. What's the greatest predictor? And this is actually a Harvard study of happiness for 70 years. The results came out about 2 years ago. What's the number one predictor of well-being? Did you guys read that study or hear about it? It was in the news, actually. It was in major media. So let me just throw it at you guys. Every table is going to give me a reason for the number one of happiness, all right? So I'm going to start. No, I can't pick on you. I'm going to start with you guys. So what's the greatest predictor for happiness?
Smile of a baby.
A smile of a baby? MashaAllah. What's the greatest predictor of happiness? I only have 5 seconds per table, so... What's that? Religion. What's the greatest predictor for happiness?
Well, actually, I have watched that.
We've watched it? Okay, so you don't contribute? Your compatriots right there in the table. Give me something. You did not know that I'm going to be quizzing you because you haven't been to my talks before. All right, so you actually are helping her cheat. So I'm going to pass you guys. So what's the greatest predictor for well-being?
My health.
Your health. What's the greatest predictor for well-being?
Social relationships.
Social relationships. What's the greatest predictor? So social relationships is actually one of the greatest predictors. It's not number one, actually, but it is certainly one of. The number one predictor for well-being is gratitude. It's actually being grateful. You know what is so amazing about Islam? What was the first word that Adam, the father of all of humanity, uttered? What was the very first word that Adam said? Can't hear you.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. The very first word that we told God when He created us, when Allah breathed into Adam of His Spirit, the Spirit came to the nose of Adam, فَعَطَس. So he actually sneezed. And what do we do when we sneeze? So he said, Alhamdulillah. So the very first word we ever uttered is gratitude. It's thanks be to God. It's thank you, Allah. And that's actually when that's what the angels taught him. And the very first word that God taught humanity or told the humanity and replied back to humanity was what? This is easy. It was, Yarhamuka Rabbuk. May your Lord have mercy on you. So the very first thing that we told God was, thanks be to you. And God told us, I will be very merciful to you. What is the last word that we actually, as a humanity, that we say? Do you know? That's when we die in the hayat al-dunya. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, if we are lucky. Right? May Allah enable all of us to do it. But what is the last word of the people of the Jannah? Tahiyyatuhum fiha salam. That the greeting of the people of the Jannah is peace. Right? But then there's something right after that peace. What is it? وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. And the last of their dua, the last of their supplication, the last of their sayings in the Jannah is, all thanks be to Allah, the Lord of all creation. So what did we start with? Yes? MashaAllah, may Allah bless you, inshallah. That is correct. So what we started with is Alhamdulillah. And what do we finish with? Is Alhamdulillah. This is the beautiful thing about our religion, is how do we wake up? When you wake up in the morning, what do you say? MashaAllah. When do you eat? When you finish your eating? When you finish your drinking? When you look at yourself in the mirror? When you put your shoes on? When you ride in the car? I mean, you look how many times you say Alhamdulillah. You look at how many times in our prayers that we say Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen with every chapter that we read, every cycle of a prayer that we do. Why do you think Allah has put in us these clues and these cues? It's to be grateful. Wallahi, we have so much, but we call it the 1% rule. There's a story of a sultan, actually. This is an Arabic folk story. And the Sultan has a very devoted helper. And he really liked that helper a lot. And the helper was always happy and cheerful. And the Sultan actually was envious of how happy his helper was, his servant was. So he went to the wazir, he went to his minister, and he said, why is that person so much happy? I'm not even that happy all the time. Why is he so much always happy? So he said, do you want to know why? He said, yes. He said, when he goes to sleep, you should take 100 dinars and put it in front of his door. You should put 99 dinars. And then, when he comes to you, say, oh, how did you find the 100 dinars in front of your door? So, of course, the servant came out, he found it, he was really, really happy, he went in, he counted it, wow, it's 99. So he goes to the Sultan, and the Sultan says, how was your 100 dinars? He said, oh no, they were 99. And then he went home, and he started looking in the bag, and he started, questioning his kids. Did anybody touch the bag? Did anybody see the bag? Let's see around the bag. Let's move around. And he's looking everywhere for that dinar. And then he came back to the Sultan, and he was miserable. Why? He did not see the 99 dinars. He didn't have any. But he did not see the 99 dinars. What he saw was the missing dinar. We are in a disease right now where we have gotten so used to the blessings that we don't even recognize it as a blessing. On your busiest day, if you are in the clinic, you are the treating person, not the person to be treated. On your busiest day, as a student, wallahi, Abdul Mateen remembers, we were actually, a brother from Jordan was coming to help with the Syrian refugees. And one of the hopes of a 10-year-old who was the breadwinner for his whole family, a Syrian refugee child, you know what was his hope? He was working as a car mechanic. And his biggest dream was to go back to school. That was his hope. That was his dream. When we complain our tests and our exams and this and that, really, wallahi, some of our problems are somebody else's dreams and hopes and wishes. So today, my biggest thing is, really, let us have a moment of gratitude. Let us have a moment of reflection. And let us recognize, what are we on this earth for? It's okay to compete. I mean, we are all very high achieving. It's okay to excel. But it's really important to recognize, what is my purpose here? What am I here for? Am I living a purposeful life? Or am I just a consumer and I am just acquiring more and having more and this and that? And what I will remind you with before I finalize my talk is two things. Number one, the more you have of this life, the more it has of you. The more you take of the dunya, the more it takes of you. That you have to always keep and remind yourself and reorient yourself. That's why in our religion, every time you put your head on your pillow, you reflect on what happened that day. You reflect on what you did that day and what you did not do that day. And the second thing, when Allah, we all know the story of Iblis, of the shaitan, of Satan, and Allah when He created Adam. And then Iblis made a promise to Allah, and he said, I will come to them, I shall come to these people, from the front of them, from behind them, from their right, from their left. I shall remind them of their histories, all of their shortcomings. I'm going to make them anxious and worried about their future. I'm going to belittle the good things they do. I'm going to magnify the bad things they do on their left. So that, and I will exert everything in my power for one purpose. Do you know what's the goal of shaitan according to the Quran? So what was it? لَآتِيَنَّهُمْ مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ وَعَنْ أَيْمَانِهِمْ وَعَنْ شَمَائِلِهِمْ. That I will come to you from everywhere, And then he tells Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and my goal is, وَلَا تَجِدُ أَكْثَرَهُمْ, and you will find most of them, the vast majority of them, what? Ungrateful. وَلَا تَجِدُ أَكْثَرَهُمْ شَاكِرِينَ. He didn't say kafirin, right? He didn't say hypocrites. He didn't say atheists. What he said, you will find the vast majority of them ungrateful. So today, as you eat, as you go about, as you are able to walk, as you are able to swallow your food, as you are able to smell the food and to hear, the crackling of the aluminum foils for the food, all of these things count how many blessings you are actually processing every single second. And therefore, you wake up and you say Alhamdulillah. You go to sleep and you say Alhamdulillah. You look at yourself and you say Alhamdulillah. You have your fingers, you say Alhamdulillah. Whatever it is. One of my patients gave me this mug. And it's a beautiful quote from Albert Einstein, which is, you can live your life as if nothing is a miracle. Or you can live your life as if everything is a miracle. It's just your perspective that you have to change. Jazakumullah khair. May Allah bless you. Please enjoy the food and thank you so much for having me. Assalamu alaikum.